Well, hello everyone. Talk about right here for Grammarly. I'm sure most of us here have heard of the sites like Grammarly.com, but you're talking about for best ways of how to improve our writing and as well as speech or anything like that. Especially if we're going to be writing a paper or maybe a research or anything that is related to understanding the best source of language and any source of language that involve what you call that using an electronic device or maybe a Kindle, any source of a writing instrument, as you say, but still that free of what we call for anything that could be used for if it's for for home or for school or business or something like that. But um, but I'm going to talk right here. I'll talk about for homework though. That I know that we've I've heard quite a few times about the best understanding about the Grammarly's website though. With Grammarly, that they say that 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 it catches the small mistakes and then as well as it's basically that your own proofreader on your computer where you'll be able to use it while you're writing and it catches the small errors, the small mistakes whenever you're going to be writing, especially if it's a gonna be using programs like Word or other sorts of programs as well to where that it's basically a proofreader. And it seems like that if we were to do the homework though, that it's like while you're going to be writing you're writing a letter, maybe chatting with somebody online. It just seems like a lot of times that that you get comfortable with the keys and maybe that a few of the keys are pretty sensitive and case sensitive and want to know just a little bit too that if you're going to be writing something, maybe talking to somebody, maybe on chat or something like that, that there's going to be a few typo errors, and so misspells, a lot of misspells, and so that's just a thing, though that with Grammarly though I have right here presented right here. It's just like this little what you call this if you want to call it like this design right here. Talking about for homework though, and it's basically homework. And I look at this right here as a way of saying that it's homework. It's not really what you call that for what we see advertised toward it. Yeah, that best of all it's free or something. But I look at it more as best of all it works. So in case if there's any students that may say as to where if they download Grammarly and maybe if they have it, maybe if they use it for business reasons or for school reasons, and want to improve their writing skills and wanting to improve their way of how to spell certain words and writing certain paragraphs or so of say of a inside of on a paper. But we have right here this example right here of this notebook right here, and we can all say too that yeah, if you're going to be looking at a blank page right here, like with Grammarly though, that with Grammarly, if you're going to have a Grammarly installed on your computer, it's basically I look at it more as a way of how to give yourself that proofreading tool. You have access to it from home. You're not really using it for like if you're going to be maybe at the schools and then they allow you to during study hall hours. I'm sure most of us can remember that during the study hall hours that you're able to use Grammarly to like sites like Grammarly and you say yeah that during study hall that sometimes that there's no work that you need to catch up on and then that you will be able to play games or maybe watch a movie or two. I might do a lot of times during the resource hours or maybe if it's study hall or advisory. I'm like yeah most of the time it's like a study period. Basically that yeah, sometimes, and I know especially like during the high school years that I had study hall a couple times too. That you go in there in the study hall and during study hall hours that you'll go in there and if there's any makeup work that you got to catch up on, any assistance with homework or any any work that you had to catch up on with in other classes. But if we're talking about for Grammarly though, it's basically that they have all this other stuff, not all this high tech stuff. Like to say yeah that like Letterhead. I'm sure that most of us are familiar with Letterhead to where that whenever you're going to be using like a document, like a Word document, that it scans. It's like it's a according to the account to where you would be able to scan a paper that has like a few paragraphs written of like a statement that you want to give to somebody who's going to be reading it, and It's basically that yeah, letterhead. It scans it, and then you're able to have a program like a Grammarly that's going to read it and tell you about if there's any spelling errors or anything like that on there. But you have right here is a blank page right here, but with Grammarly though, they say that the page would need to have a few paragraphs of anything about what's called adjective and topics and all. But I have right here, I talk about for speech right here. So I know that with any source of notebook, though, that if you're going to be writing a paragraph or two about something, and want to know too that, yeah, with Grammarly, though, that with like, it depends on what plan that you have, that what the count it is that you're talking about, that if you're going to have maybe a notebook right here, and maybe on that notebook that you're going to have written on there about maybe three or four paragraphs of something that you want to talk about, during class. And let's just say that if it's written on a notebook though, but then you're trying to work it out to where that somebody online will be able to read that, and if anything, you will be able to use like a letterhead to where that you'll be able to scan it. Maybe you take a picture of it even from your phone and be able to send it to the proofreader and say somebody who's willing to read it, and then they'll tell you, they'll give a response, by email about what they think about. Okay, punctuation errors or any spelling errors or anything about what's called a period goes there, quotation marks, that sorts of stuff. But I have right here that this notebook right here that contains a lot of blank pages, and some of it I have written on here is yeah, that stickers also, and I yeah, that I don't know if Grammarly does this, but they have it to them like, yeah, stickers that there would be like stickers that there would be like stickers that they would be placed on the paper, just say, hey, nice work on your paper or something like that. But uh, but you have right here that writing in cursive also. So I have this notebook right here that contains quite a few yeah, some pages that I'm trying to show everybody here that one page that it's some writing on there, but anyway, but yeah, if you're going to be writing a paper, then using Grammarly, then it'll be a way of how to say as to where that yeah, that if you're going to be using it even to write a resume. So it's like, say, yeah, that with Grammarly though, if you're going to be working on a resume and want to know a little bit too that the things that you would like to put on your resume, and let's just say that with the Grammarly software, that you would be able to import any files based on from the original handwriting. So you have right here is like, yeah. So this right here will be me right here, and let's just say that if I would have wrote this maybe about a year ago, and there's like a site like Grammarly to where it you write something, and then you use your letterhead to where that you can go ahead and write down on there about anything about what you want to talk about, and so yeah, that anything about in cursive writing and all that. But you have right here of yeah, this notebook right here that contains some pages that have writing in them, but anyway, but talking about that with Grammarly though, that really though that with Grammarly, that I look at this more as like a way of how to be able to download and install the Grammarly program to a computer, mainly because it gives me what's called that ability to where that I would be able to learn how to write clearly, more clearly, and also is to where to have a better understanding about okay, exactly about how that the software works, because I know that I have you'll try Microsoft Word, and I can tell anybody here that I use Grammarly as what's called my source of proofreading program rather than Word. Though, like if you're going to have Microsoft Word, then it seems like that yeah, that a lot of things on that software program that what we call is to Word that yeah, you use that before, but sometimes that some of those spelling errors, and then maybe pronouns, and as well as vocabulary, and then sentence quotes, or sentence paragraph phrasing, all that source of language. So the way that you're trying to write a paper, it seems like it comes out just a little bit of the opposite using Microsoft Word. And a number of times I've used it, it seems like that really, if you're trying to write a professional paper, it seems like that you really had to knowing about the use of the program also, and also it just seems like that without maybe a way of how to set the program to have a proofreader just to be able to read the paragraphs, okay, if everything is spelled correctly and all that. So it seems like that using this right here, that I'm not gonna, in case if anybody that asks me though, that I'm going to use Grammarly mainly for like if it's what you call like a scheduled homework. I'm like if it's supposed to be like what you call like a homework assignment. I'm not going to use it just because you see it on those commercials. You say that it says it's free and all that, but still, I'm going to for the best. Your best of all that it works is what I'm going to say. And in case of anybody that may ask me too, is to where that based on having a Grammarly account, that if I'm going to be using Grammarly and maybe using it, during a daily basis, I'm going to say that that yeah, whenever I use it more for homework. I'm not going to use it just because okay, it's recommended just because okay, it's free or something like that. It's because for homework though. So in case if somebody asks me that, okay, homework though, that with Grammarly though, that there's different plans that you can get, that there's different plans that you can sign up for, and as well as other software programs that you can get as well. But I tell you one thing though, that using Grammarly though, that if there's going to be a commercial that comes on for about maybe 30 seconds, if anything, that for the best results, or if anything, that you have access to this from your own, for your own use. So, like for anything between using it by mobile and using it at your own, convenience. So, yeah, using it at my own convenience would be to know about as to where to, yeah. So, really, I really think though is to where that really it needs to be earned. It really needs to be earned just to be considered, which called it's free. It's like free knowing about for what is really free. So I know that for being a student though, it just seems like that is to where that you really had to put in a lot of hard work, and a lot of hard work could also mean is to where that sometimes you just cannot download and install a software. You really have to put in a lot of hard work, and out of that hard work, it seems like that you guys spend up more time with it, and as well as before you turn in a paper is to run Grammarly spell check and all that, just to be able to when if you're going to be writing a paper. But I tell you one thing, everybody, that about Grammarly though, or about any other sorts of wording programs though, that whenever I use them though, if I'm going to be using them even by mobile though, using them by mobile, that I look at that as more what you call as like a way of saying is to okay, homework though. With the homework that you take more time at your own time just to study a little bit more about okay, what does the paper say, or what this document supposed to say, or what is the message supposed to be related to? So it seems like that anything I hear about, I just look at that more as like, yeah, more of a deposit. And so being a student though, that for knowing about with homework though, in case if somebody asks me that, does homework really bother you too much at a time? Does homework really, whenever more work comes to the desk, or maybe more work that comes to your schedule, does that really bother you? I'm like, well, if I see any progress in the if I see any progress come along with that source of work. So let's just say that instead of one full paper of a written explanation about my research, and maybe let's just say if it comes to maybe three or four pieces of paper that I had to have completed and written in detail about a certain topic, certain subjects, and let's just say if it is a thesis statement, then as they say is to where yeah, homework though. I look at that more as homework because in case if somebody asks me that at this right here, yeah, for Grammarly though, at this right here was supposed to be used is like a source of way of saying is to where that whenever you download Grammarly, that it's basically that you are using it to, for your own home computer, and then that you have access to just to have a program proofread for what you're typing, for what you're writing, that checking for spelling errors. I am not looking at this as what you call as toward yeah, the free ticket or something like that. But based on other people's experience, though, they might also look at that as to where that if anything, maybe you're paid for through a voucher. is to where you would have a free edition of it, and if you want to have a special version of it. And since I know with me though that with my disability though, it seems like that I had to have a special version of Grammarly just to be able to improve my progress, for my spelling and then for my grammar and punctuation work and all that. So in order to be able to have this free, in order to be able to have this special edition, it seems like that I would have to put in more of the work, and then I would have to come up with that with the agreement to where this will be what's called a payment, for the deposit. But so I know that there's different plans that you can get for Grammarly, but I can tell everybody that Grammarly has helped me improve my writing skills. But I'm not going to say that I got it for free, and if anything, for a free gift. About maybe 6 months or so after, about maybe a year, after I put in my source of education, and maybe if it's for business reasons, then I can also say too that with Grammarly though that I would recommend it, maybe because that you have access to it at your from your device, from a for your own personal use. It's not really something that what you can say is to where that yeah, it's free. You can use it like it's like a free spot, just like on a bingo card or something like that. But anyway, but in case if somebody asks me to be a little brother to somebody, to where that if you're gonna have problems with reading and spelling and all that, that it seems like a lot of times that if you're going to be working at your own home computer, that before I had Grammarly installed on my computer, I could also say too that a lot of times I relied on programs like Word, and I relied on other programs that would proofread my spelling, and I could probably say that it has increased quite a bit since then. But I can tell anybody here that really, that you still get really, I still got to put in a lot of the hard work. I can't just expect to where a lot of the English writing to improve overnight. But I could say too is to where for anything that maybe I can do within 5 minutes is to say that yeah, sign up to be able to get updates, and as well as anything about emails. And so yeah, that if you're going to be using maybe Grammarly for anything about what you call, for dictionaries, and yeah, I guess I can maybe recommend it for dictionaries too. I don't see that in a commercial very much at a time about Grammarly. That if you're writing a paper about something, and maybe if you're trying to check the spelling, or maybe if you're trying to look up in a dictionary about what certain words and certain vocabularies do mean, and then you would have access to the encyclopedia, have access to the dictionary. And with that dictionary, they would tell you about, a certain word. If you're trying to write a love letter, or maybe if you're trying to talk about maybe a concern of the matter, then it would tell you about, this word means this, or this word means for a certain definition for this or that. But you have right here on this shirt, I'm sure most of us have seen this before right here. I talk about for little brother. And so it's like, yeah, so it seems like that whenever if I'm gonna be working on my homework though, and let's just say that there's a time to where that somebody that may wonder just a little bit more about how online accounts usually work, and let's just say if you were referred by maybe like Grammarly site, or maybe to Microsoft site, and you have these other websites that you can join, you just be able to get an account through. And you're gonna say is to word it, yeah, that if you're gonna maybe know somebody in the family that knows a lot about computers, a lot about the computer data analysis, or if anything, that knows quite a bit about how electronic devices work, or anything about what you call it managing online. And so yeah, that sorts of saying. And so in order to be able to explain any further about that it's like, say, yeah, if you're gonna maybe have a cousin or somebody that's wanting to know a little bit too about that, they go from maybe from about maybe 5 years or so of writing on an actual typewriter, and then maybe using a pencil, maybe if they're going to be a writer and author of a book, and then they're trying to get trained about how to be able to write certain ways. And so yeah, if they're going to be an author of a book, then maybe that possibility that they might even not even need Grammarly. But let's just say that there's going to be an upgrade that's going to be going on to where that they're going to be using maybe a new device. And with that new device, it could also be maybe on a mobile phone, or it could also maybe be related to maybe a Kindle or maybe a library, like a tablet, from a library. And so, say if you're going to have these new devices, and possibly say, yeah, that Grammarly would be recommended for that, because you say that, yeah, it's basically that if you're going to have Grammarly installed on the tablet and on the phone, on a smartphone, that you would be able to have this proofreader that would be able to tell you that, hey, that to please review your spelling, if you're trying to greet somebody, or if anything, to tell them about the reminder about something, or if you're trying to ask a question or make a statement or something like that. Use punctuations, and as well as parenthesis marks in your sentences, and then you would be able to have that available you for, as long as you're signed, as long as you're logged on to your account. So there's different plans that you can get through Grammarly, but it seems like that anybody that's going to be maybe be using it for businesses, or maybe using it for class reasons, that they can also want to know about is exactly about that if you're going to be using Grammarly, and let's just say if you're going to be using it maybe for writing papers, then you want to know as to where that yeah, you'll get the free edition, or if anything, if you want to go ahead and upgrade to this special edition, and you would have access to best reviews, for over have access to over maybe 100 words, from the vocabulary of the dictionary or something like that. So yeah, you have access to it at your own convenience. And so I know that a lot of the work that I have been doing here lately, quite a bit of it has been, from here at home. So in case of somebody say that they ask me that being able to do your own homework, though, being able to do your own homework at your own convenience, though, does that allow you to be able to have access to it? Do you have more ability to where you can concentrate more? You're able to concentrate a lot more, whenever you're able to work at your own time. And a lot of times that's usually the case. Whenever it comes to the work that I got to do, that sometimes it's harder for me to concentrate whenever I'm going to be maybe what you call that, if there's a situation to where that you're going to have somebody that's going to be reading my paper, something they don't understand, something that the reader they don't understand, and so they're going to ask you about exactly what is this paper supposed to say, and say that, yeah, I don't know if they're going to ask about something like, be a little brother, or be a big cousin, or somebody, something like that. Explain to me about what this paper is supposed to say. But I've come up to those situations quite a few times. But really, though, that if you're going to be writing a paper about something, and let's just say that they even have it to where, like Grammarly, though, they have voice command to where if you're going to be writing a paper, then you'll be able to have access to the microphone, and you would say something like, you know, uh, like, hello, how are you doing today? And so, like I say, if you're gonna have anything about maybe a greeting or something like that, or if anything, maybe writing a paper or something such as is to where that yeah, so something about what you call it, today's objective or something like that. The subject of the matter, to where if it's going to be related to a certain topic, and let's just say that if one of those would be is toward that, my homework assignment would be about page, 5 paragraphs that would include something more like based on my research about what I found out, and then anything that I wanted to add, anything that I want to quote about, or anything about what's called research, and including anything about what's called citing the sources, and as well as anything else that I want to include in the paper as well. You would have this voice command, something such as to where you're doing the research, though, doing the research, that a few of the things that are going to be required whenever you're going to be writing a paper about something about research. And but still, if you're going to be writing a paper about something, the first thing that may come to your mind really is to where if you're trying to change anything, or if anything, that you're just trying to quote something in another way of saying, is to where that, yeah, that anything about what you want to add, for anything related to like maybe feedback, or that if you want to ask a question about something, or if you want to make a few statements, a few comments, and a few statements. And one of those is to where that access at your own convenience. Access at your own convenience. Well, exactly what does that mean? Necessary access at your own convenience. Well, it basically means is to where homework. Homework, as we know, is not always what you call that. That's work that you do it at home. But really, though, that how many students would say is that really that if that's really paid for through the state, if that's really paid for through the education to be able to have access to it at home, and since going back to school, that's kind of like really what I was looking forward to is being able to have access to a lot of these skills at from home because before it was during study hours, and there was only about maybe I think during that time there was only about maybe an hour or something like that, maybe 45 minutes to an hour or so of study hall class during the time I was in high school, and sometimes that did not always give me enough time to be able to rewrite a paper or maybe to turn something into class or something like that, or if anything was if it was related to maybe testing, if it was related to maybe map testing or something like that. But I tell everybody here too that about Grammarly though that if we're going to be using Grammarly, that I would really recommend it that to if you're wanting to improve your writing skills and as well as maybe have access to the dictionary and as well as be able to have access to the free what you call that more more advanced like yeah anything about what's called proofreading the programs that wouldn't be included with the package though. So if you want to have access to more of the dictionaries and as well as best ways of how to write a paper, then that would be what's called recommended. To where yeah, in case of anybody that may ask me that that if you're going to be working with Grammarly, that possibility that if you run into situations to where that you're asked to where that you'll upgrade to the new that this is going to be there's going to be what's called that this so far the premium chart on my premium costed it, but still though that I know that any students that may want to that if you're going to be using this, just like anything what you call related to about maybe resume, if you're going to be writing a resume, anything about what's called career, research or something like that, anything about looking for a job, or maybe if it is anything about what you call maybe the best ways of how to manage your taxes. That there are some programs that say yeah you may have to pay a membership or something like that, but still you would have access to a number of things. You would have access to you know ways of how to you want to communicate if you want to connect to maybe an agent or somebody that wants the best to understand about what you work with also. But the best of all, it works. That's the way I wanted to come is the best of all, it works. So in case if somebody asks me that, the best of all, really, you heard that before, best of all, it's three, but best of all, great progress. The best of all, it works. For progress. But anyway, but talk about for like anything about which call accounts though. That for anything what we call yeah little brother. If we're gonna be which call somebody that somebody else knows you. I'm like yeah references. It's somebody else that knows your work very well and maybe that they don't really know very much about how to write a paper or if anything if it is related to about the source of language, understanding the person's writing. So with me though, it seems like I require a special edition of Grammarly compared to the other editions that would not require all that other extra assistance and all that extra support. But let's just say if the situation goes by as to where that about how much hard work that I'm willing to put into my papers, and so yeah, that it seems like that's usually the case. That a lot of the hard work that I have to put in, a lot of the hard work in that knowing about for the work in progress from since the start, and then from where I'm at now, it just seems like that. Yeah, you guys spend more time looking at the paper, and if you had to you know re rephrase the writing, and maybe if you also had to rewrite the sentences also and spend more time trying to make sure that it looks a little bit more presented, looks more professional. It's like a for anything about what you call writing a paper though. But anyway, but thanks for watching everyone. Talk about for Grammarly your homework, and I know that it's like say is to where that that we but in case if anybody wants to know a little bit more about my feedback about Grammarly, because I do have Grammarly, but I tell you one thing, Noah, that yeah, that you really you got to put in a lot of the hard work, and it seems like that's usually about how I'm really about how I am willing to show a lot of the great progress. I just can't spend 2 hours working on a class assignment and consider it done. I got to put in more of the hard work, and even though it's sometimes if it's some of that work that takes more than 4 or 5 hours, and we know that if we're going to be leaving a voice message, maybe on a like yeah, if you're going to be taking time to write a paper, and maybe if you're going to take time to maybe only for maybe 30 seconds to a minute to write about something, and it seems like just for the quick quote, one of those quick quotes could also be the best updates. So I guess updates would also be something that maybe would catch somebody's attention also, but then knowing about great progress, or if anything, is also be as towards something new. Something new, you're the best advice, or the best service of information, that sorts of saying. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.